Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I'm glad you guys are here. Today is going to be a little bit different video, going through the collection, looking at knives a little differently, and I wanted to come up with 10 knives that I felt did a great job of a flipper-only deployment with the blade that sits fully back in the handle when it's closed. So kind of like an understated gentleman's knife with the flipper deployment. There are a couple of knives that I had to kind of forego because they had other opening methods as well. They weren't flipper only. So guys, this is just a subjective list. I wanted to share it with you. I wanted to look at some knives that we hadn't looked at in a while and look at them a little differently. First thing though, I do want to thank all the channel members. Thank you. I appreciate you all so much. And I want to thank anybody who's come in to check out the knife, the EDC content. You're all important to me. I appreciate you all. If you're so inclined and you haven't had a chance yet, if you'd hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon, it would really help me out. So the first knife we've got to look at is an honorable mention. This is not going to be one of our 10. But this is a knife from Finch Knife Company, and this is the Finch Knife Company Roadrunner. It is a bolster lock, fully contained flipper lock. You can either front flip it from right here, which I don't like to do, or you can just flip it from the regular flipper tab, and you've got a full-size knife that's real daggery, pokey, stabby. And then another knife that fits that flipper only genre that has been a great knife that I never would have picked up if it hadn't been for E&G's recommendation. This is the Blade HQ Vox exclusive little, God, what's this little knife called? M390. It is called the Blade HQ, it's called a little something. I forget what it is. A little M390, flipper only, totally recessed, fifth pocket knife. Blade comes in and out like nobody's business. These two knives are great, but they're not going to make the top 10. They're going to both be honorable mentions. And we're going to start out number 10 with a knife by Kaiser that is a fantastic knife. It's managed to stay in my condition, or in my collection, even though I haven't gotten it anode yet, which is something I want to do. But this is the Kizer Mercury. This knife to me is so elegant, so thin, such a great blade shape, and really a knife that you can wear in your shirt pocket, put in your pocket, and it does not look like a knife. It is designed around what I call a Spanish razor, or an old school razor. So you've got this hollow ground blade that's very, very slicey. You've got this liner lock with absolute drop shut action, and a very small amount of the front of that blade sticks out where you've got that little bit of cleaver. But this is the Kizer Mercury. It is very light. It is very much what I would consider a gentleman's folder. And even though I'm not a huge fan of flipper-only knives, these knives, and this knife particularly, is one of the more recent knives I bought that is a flipper-only, when I've had already sworn them off that I would not buy flipper-onlys anymore. This is a great knife, very slim, very medium to medium large size, has a fantastic sharpening choil. The blade steel on this is S35VN. Titanium handles, steel liner lock. Coming in at number 10, we have the Kizer Mercury. Which brings us to number 9. And number 9 is a knife I picked up from Amazon. This is a Brad Zinker drop collaboration called the Dogtooth. Again, a fantastic knife. Titanium liners, titanium liner lock, shred carbon fiber scales. You've got a really nice titanium clip, stamped clip, and then you've got this S35VN compound ground, 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / 1 / S35VN blade. Again, the blade goes completely into the handle. The knife is very light. It is very gentlemanly. It is very elegant. So it makes for a great daily carry knife, a great office knife. Has a fantastic sharpening choil. You've got this little thicker area back at the rear of the grind, and then it thins up here at the front, say 3/4 of the blade. Drop shut action. Really nice flipper tab that allows you either a push button or a very general light switch. Super light, super pokey, fantastic Wharncliffe blade. Very simple construction. Just a great, great knife. Don't know if these are still available. I've seen them on Amazon in titanium. If I can find a link, I'll leave one in the description. But this is number 9, and this is the Brad Zinker Dogtooth. Moving on to number 8, we come to my favorite and weirdest Finch knife. This is the Finch Tuna. The Finch Tuna is unique to me. Yes, it's G10 with steel liners, a little different from the Finch construction I showed you earlier. But the way that this flipper tab and this blade is balanced, it is just an absolute flipping beast. You've got this deep front belly. You've got a super sharp, thick blade, very ample, 154 cm, drop shut action, a flipper tab that gives you both a push button or the jimping for the light switch. And then it runs around to the bottom here where your grip is. And again, this knife is just comfortable in hand. It has a lot of grip potential. A really nice flat here for cuts, and then a really nice belly. But again, the action on this knife, the weight on this knife, the fact that the blade fully disappears makes it just an all-around winner. So coming in at number 8 in our top 10 flipper knives in my collection, we've got the Finch Tuna. Which brings us to number 7, which is going to be one of the 3 larger knives on this list. And this is a really cool knife. This is a knife, carry designed knife by Monteray Bay Knives. It is a flipper only turbo. This blade is ZDP 18950. You've got the wrap there around the blade. So it's got a very hard HRC. Very nice edge. I haven't been cutting paper. I apologize for that, guys. But this has got a very tactical blade, I would call it. A good thick blade, a poking blade, a Slurpee saving blade. Kind of reminds me of a Tetrazula, even though we know it's not. It is a collaboration between Monteray Bay Knives and Carry Knives, and it is called the Turbo. Has absolute drop shut action. My buddy A to Z EDC has several turbos. He's got a blacked out titanium. He's got kind of a frou-frou titanium. This one is the micarta, steel lock bar insert, titanium backspacer, titanium clip, titanium hardware. Fantastic, again, drop shut action, and probably one of the larger knives in this little breakdown, but a great knife. You've got a really nice swedge. Again, the Z18950 blade steel, and then absolutely drop shut action. Fantastic knife, one of my faves, and this is the Monteray Bay Turbo, coming in at number 10987, which brings us to number 6. And number 6, guys, we've seen before. It may be the oldest knife in this collection, but these knives, if I'm not mistaken, are still available. This is probably one of the finest Kaiser Blade Series knives I've owned. This is the Kizer Clutch in S35VN. It is a quintessential gentleman's folder with a really nice sheep's foot blade, of S35VN. You've got this combination titanium handle with these really nice G10 inserts, titanium inset frame lock with a steel lock bar insert, drop shut action, perfectly centered blade that is perfectly recessed into the handle. You've got light switch, push button, very, very neutral handle. You do not even feel that clip. I can grab it in front of the trigger here, in front of the flipper, or behind the flipper. This knife's great for long cuts, for cutting cardboard, utility cuts, food prep, camping tasks, you name it. The blade shape is ready for work. The blade stock is thick, but it does get very slicey here behind the edge and is a slicey beast. So the Kizer Clutch is definitely one of my favorite Kaisers. I really like the Veritas. I really like the Mercury, but this is an old school Kizer, and I think they did things different then, and I'm just a big fan. The Kizer Clutch, whose Maker's Mark's this here? I can't really tell, but S35VN, again, a really nice kind of sheep's footy blade there, and we will call this number 5. Or number 6, which brings us to number 5. Guys, number 5 is my most minimalist knife in the group and in my collection. This is the Mr. Designs Zero. You simply got this rectangle knife body with this unjimped flipper tab on the corner. So you got one corner to flip it. You've got a very thin M390 blade. I mean, very thin. Super, super slicey. Therapeutically so. It's a full-size knife that fits into my hand with absolutely no hot spots because, again, it is a full-size knife. It's a plunge lock button lock that operates fantastically well. Again, you have no blade coming out of that handle. When you open this plunge lock, you notice that that plunge is totally inside the tang of that blade. So when it comes around and locks in, it locks in very tight. And then again, you release it, it falls right back into the handle. Very light. You just got very contoured titanium handles here with a lot of weight relief and this super thin M390 blade, and that is really all you've got, a pivot and a body screw. So wire clip, the Mr. Design Zero is a flipper only knife that I love. I think it's a fantastic gentleman's folder. Doesn't even look like a knife. Really performs well in urban EDC environments and office environments. Has a great drop point blade with a very pokey tip. I'm a big fan, and we'll call this number 5, Mr. Zero. Brings us to number 4. And we've got a knife that I initially was not a huge fan of, but I've come to love this knife. This is the Tuya Kaladin, and it has probably got the smoothest action of any knife in my collection. It is a collaboration between Dave Warren at Tuya Knives and Jim Skelton, the knife maker. There's your Skelton Blade Works Maker's Mark. You've got S90V on the blade. You've got Dave Warren's Tuya label. You've got this beautiful satin ground dagger blade. You've got this flipper tab that, I mean, I can push button it. I can slowly flight switch it. It is not failing. It is incapable. The detent is perfect. And then the drop on it is a controlled, smooth drop. The handle, again, very tactical in my opinion, just because it's got that dagger grind, but very, very slicey. Therapeutically so. Titanium bolsters. The Asian fat carbon fiber, which is a little different, but you do see some unique colors there. Titanium clip. Beautiful belt satin S90V blade. It's very sharp, very slurpy saver, great grips. You've really got that. This handle area will really keep your hand back if you're using it in a fighting grip. So I'm a big fan. This is the Tuya Kaladin or Kaladin. I always mispronounce that and I apologize. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Fantastic knife, a lot of different variations. If you're not a fan of the carbon fiber, you can get it in frag tie, but huge knife that I'd recommend if you like flipper only knives. This one's probably as good as they get in terms of the action, but that will bring us to number 3. So number 3, guys, is another little minimalistic gentleman's folder. Very, very neutral handle. Does not look like a knife. This is the Quiet Carry Large IQ. So this is the Quiet Carry IQ. It's larger model. It is also therapeutically slicey. It's in M390. Riding on skiffs. Has a wonderful frame lock. Perfectly centered blade that disappears all the way into the handle. You've got the 4 little Quiet Carry logo marks. You've got this D-shaped pivot for your clip, so that actually locks into the frame. You've got a D-shaped pivot here. The knife goes back together like a dream. I could probably loosen it up a little bit, but I like to keep it tight till my skiffs break in. But this Quiet Carry, the Quiet Carry Large IQ is a fantastic knife. I don't know if I would have bought this at retail. I happened to find it. I'm a Quiet Carry guy. I've got several of their knives. But Black Friday had a sale on these large IQs in M390. And this guy was $148. So it was like half price. And I picked one up. Glad I did. Great knife to carry. Great office knife. And definitely one of my favorite flipper-only knives. Coming in at number 3, the Quiet Carry Large IQ. Which brings us to number 2. Guys, number 2 is another design by Mr. Designs. The best knife I've reviewed so far this year is the Mr. Designs Phantom. It's got thumb studs and a hologram, a Warncliffe blade. This knife really hit me in the feels and it hits me in the hand. It's very reminiscent in my mind, which is very simple, of a TRM Atom in shape and overall size. Not a copy, but maybe in some inspiration. Doesn't have thumb studs, has a low profile flipper tab. This is the Mr. Cipher, which is this very, very elegant Tanto. They also make a Cipher D, which is a more traditional drop point. But the ergonomics of these contoured handles and the large size of this knife, I would rate it around TRM Atom size. It is definitely a thin-bladed therapeutic slicer. This is also an M390 drop shut action. It's shipped with carbon fiber scales. I picked up these scales. They also sell it as a titanium model, but they sell the scales for like $80. So I picked up a set of black titanium scales and a few different pivot collars so I could switch it up once I got the knife in, because I realized how special it was and how much I carried it, because it's a minimalist knife, takes up literally no room. It is plenty large for an everyday knife that you can use all day long. 3.5-inch blade, drop shut action, very non-threatening looking, simple flipper action, and it's ready to go. So coming in at number 2, we have the Mr. Designs Cipher. Which brings us to number one, guys. There can only be one number one, and I struggle between this and the Mordax, but I swear the Protect Malibu, even though it's an older knife, it's kind of had its time. The hype's kind of gone. There are no button locks in the market that have a detent like this knife, that feel like this knife. I know it's a love it or hate it knife. I'm on the side of love it very much. This is 20 CV. This is the textured aluminum handle. It is a medium-sized knife, to quote Christine, Women Carry Knives, or a medium small knife, but it's a great EDC size for me. You've got a light switch flipper that works very well. You've got a push button flipper that works very well. You've got a button lock that works exceptionally well, sucks the knife right back in. I was going to have the Mordax be in this group, but it's just a little bit larger than I carry on the daily, even though I've got the Turbo over there by MBK, and I've got the larger Mr. Design Cipher. But those are a little bit larger knives, right? Or thinner knives, where the Mordax is more of a, to me, a beefy knife. I love it. I can't say that the Malibu is that much better in terms of action, but it is in terms of the size that it takes up, the place that it fits in my collection, and why I'm really a huge fan. So we've got the Protect Malibu. We have got the Mr. Designs Cipher. We have got the Quiet Carry Large IQ. We have got the Tuya knives and Mr. Jim Skelton, the Tuya Kaladin, and then we've got a second Mr. Designs, the Minimalistic Zero. And then we come up to my OG Kaiser, the Clutch, which is just a sweet knife. We have the Monterey Bay Knives Turbo. Jump over our Joe Isabella B-Up guy there. Let's put him up here. I can get him back over here. Let's put him right there. Put him right there. Then we've got our Finch Tuna, our Brad Zinker Dogfish, and lastly, we have our Kaiser Mercury. And then we had a couple of honorable mentions, but guys, those are my 10 flipper-only knives. I appreciate you taking a look. I hope you found some of these informative, entertaining, somewhat educational, or saw some knives that you thought were pretty cool. Guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. All I ask is please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. Choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.